but I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
Welcome to the 39th Breakfast Ball. I am your host, Bob Cardia. To my far left, your far right, the dashing Richie Stoltz.
39 3/4, by the way.
39, yeah, now, right? Let's see what else can go wrong in the filming of this. We keep starting over, but it's okay. Today is called Fake It Till You Make It, which is interesting because, people laugh at that comment, but there's actually physiological reasons for that, and if you can control how you appear physically on the outside, it actually can affect the way that you think on the inside. So we're going to give you strategies on how to do that. So quote number 1. We can substantially control how we feel on the inside by controlling how we appear on the outside. So that's the quote, basically what I just said. Dr. James Lohr, love his stuff. We've been talking about it. He gives us 3 strategies on how to do that. Okay. Strategy number 1, controlling what you think. It's the fuel that you're giving your brain. So, if there is a specific mantra or something that puts you in a positive mindset thought-wise, or even, as he says, trying to go with your greatest hour, whatever the greatest success you ever had was. You drained one from 50 feet away to win a conference championship, or you hit a shot into the wind that went into the hole from 100 yards out. Feed your brain that, okay, those thoughts, which is actually more of what you do, which is visualization. And we talked about that last time. So, again, refresh our memories on what
So I do visualization, and Jason Day was my example. Jason Day, what he would do was stand behind the golf ball, close his eyes, and visualize his shot before he went to go hit it. Yeah. And what that does, that lets you see the shot before you do it. It gives you, I believe, it gives you a chance for instincts to take over, opposed to thinking too hard about a shot or something that you're trying to do. Just visualizing it and going to hit it. Yeah,
I love it. And you said you like to do it with your eyes closed, right?
I do it with my eyes closed.
Yeah, and that's what Lohr says is the best way to go with that. Yeah, interesting. And then the third was control how you look on the outside. In short, your physical presence, which brings us back to our Zach story. Zach is one of our guys, played for us at Rutgers. He was actually a guest on the podcast, Zach Arsenault. The one year he was first alternate for the USM, and then the one year he made the finals of the USM. He actually, I think he was 3 strokes off being the TV pairings at the US Amateur, which we're very proud of Zach. But when Zach was going to qualify, his fiancee Gloria was his caddy, and I guess it was a threesome that he was in, and they were playing together. And I guess after a couple holes, the 2 other guys in the group were affable, friendly kind of people. Like, hey, what's up with Zach? Like he's really not very friendly. And what Gloria said about Zach is so stinking right on. She's like, well, he's not here to make friends. He's here to make the finals of the U.S. Amateur. And wow, it's true. If you play with Zach, it's a slightly intimidating experience. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what you should, your goal is to, psych out your employees.
Is that what you do? Yeah, that's what I do. Try and psych out your employees, Bob?
No, just psych out your competitors, right? But I'll tell you what, if that is your natural makeup, like one of the best players on our current conference that we play against, doesn't say much. He's very, an intense individual. And guess what? People, I find players talk about that, like, well, he's, not very nice. He's very intense. Oh, well, like that. Yeah. That's, what, and that's why I try when we play with our groups. I never, we have 12 players on a roster. I don't want the same players to play together every time. I don't care if that makes you more comfortable. Yeah. If it makes you more comfortable, that's a bad thing, because you're going to have to play with jerks. You're going to have to play with like guys that talk a lot. You're going to you're going to have to learn how to play just like weather conditions. You have to play with everybody, right? So, hey, and I know we all do, but do you have any current students that would really benefit from better body language?
Well, let me tell you this. First off, yes, all of them. Just about every lesson that I teach, yes, would benefit from that. But interesting story here. I had a pretty cool lesson yesterday. Who was it? Do you know who my lesson was yesterday? Pretty interesting one.
Amanda.
I had a lesson with Amanda, and hopefully she doesn't yell at me for this one. Amanda's not the most athletic person on the planet.
She's a delightful young lady.
She's
delightful
great.
young lady.
She's incredible.
I love
But
Amanda.
she's
Mary
not-
loves Amanda.
Everyone loves Amanda. Amanda's not the most athletic person on the planet. She's never played golf before. You know, she's brand new to the game.
Mhm.
She sat there the entire lesson. Am I going to be pro yet? I'm pro ready. I'm pro ready. I'm great at this. This game's easy. You know, all this stuff. And, you know, even after bad shots and after she struggled and stuff like that, she was always positive the entire way. And she did far better
Mhm.
than many of my lessons
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You know, way better.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
Feed herself positive thoughts.
Yeah. We got through iron shots, tee shots, pitch shots,
Yeah.
everything. And she was able to do it all pretty darn solid for her first
So
time
just
ever.
so you know, before you came over, she said her goal was to beat you. So I'm just saying.
I'm not surprised. She's got a lot of work to do, but she's gonna yell at me if she watches this.
Oh yeah, well, I'm going to make sure she watches this episode. So yeah, for sure. Every student, pretty much. I actually had a student, Kim, yesterday too, who she was a high level swimmer, competitive swimmer in
Yeah.
college, and she has that mentality too. She's like, she just any bit of information I give her, she eats it up and tries to, if anything, she ODs on stuff when you tell her. One of those people that when you give her something to do, she takes it to excess. So we
Yeah.
have to kind of temper her back. But the overall attitude is like spot on. That's the student you want. The student who knows that learning a fine motor skill sport like golf is 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Like that, you just have to keep working as you get better and better incrementally.
Yeah.
Because if you're expecting to wake up tomorrow to be great at golf, it ain't gonna happen. Yeah, it's fun. Actually, I think we talked about this. The two things that I do quite a bit, golf and guitar. And if you read about both of them, they have a high dropout rate.
Yeah.
Because their fine motor skills and improvement is so gradual and incremental that, like, most people say, screw it, it's not going to work. So then we talked a little bit last week about defense mechanisms. And I actually went back into Laura's book last night and was reading about it. And man, I tell you what, I've been telling you, like, I've been guilty of it. Especially because with frozen vertebrae or fused vertebrae in my neck, I can't move like I used to, and I don't play nearly as much as I used to, or hardly that much at all anymore. And when I do go to play, and I play good, I find myself falling into the I'm a lot better than this. But here's the thing: you have to catch yourself. Okay, if you start talking like that, the guy that you're playing with, like there's one guy that played for I won't use the university, but every time I came over to watch my guy play, he's like, well, just another one of those days. I don't understand. I usually shoot 75. But the thing is, every time you play with the guy, and we play with the guy like 5, it's the same flipping story. Like I don't know. Maybe he's just having a bad day every day we see him. Who knows? But yeah, I know, right? And I think you know the guy I'm talking about. So that might protect your ego or your pride. But it's nothing but a self-defense mechanism. That's what it is. And not only it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that does not help you, that actually makes you play worse. It has an ancillary thing to the people you're playing with. It makes them feel better, right? Okay. Well, the last thing you want in a competitive situation is to be fueling the guy you're playing with positivity. Like, oh, you know what? He's not playing well. If I do my best, I can really blow him out. Like, no, you don't want to do that. That's so. What Laura's saying is basically is the as if principle, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's go back to Rotella, because you and I talk about Rotella.
I like Rotella.
I love this Rotella quote. Okay, the Rotella quote is positive thinking doesn't always work. Which is true, right? Like,
yeah,
it's been plenty of times to sit like, man, I got this, and the results didn't exactly be what you want them to be. But negative thinking does, right? Oh, how many guys have we had come through a program that are just negative Nancy's?
Yeah.
Nothing good ever happens to those people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're negative, and I know you have. You spent, like, as Richie, as one of the better players, Mount Rushmore of our program, coming through. I mean, how did those negative guys, like, you saw it, right? How did they make you feel?
Yeah, we had an A team and we had a B team when I played for us. And
Actually part of a C team, too.
And yes, we
Practice
actually had a
squad,
little
yeah.
bit of a C team,
Yeah.
But the difference between the A team and the B team, there wasn't much skill difference.
Mhm.
And you would agree with that too.
Oh.
Our B team, there was actually times our B team beat the A team.
Twice
Like,
in
there
the span
was-
of 2 years that they
Yeah.
beat them, and they went low. I mean, they were capable of shooting the 290s. They had talent.
We had a really good B team, but the difference from the A team and the B team was the way they thought.
Yeah.
So the A team was, and let's be honest, not all of us were the most positive people on the planet. Like
No.
I can pick a couple out that
No.
not naming by names,
Yeah,
but
no, I-
that weren't the most positive but better
Yes.
players.
Yes.
But the biggest difference you did see was the A team thought a lot better than the B team. The B team
yeah. And-
was negative.
and
They
even-
did use defense mechanisms.
Even the back end of the A team, there was a couple guys. One guy who had a serious anger issue, that I felt like we made a difference. Like
Yeah.
I took him out to lunch, I took him out to dinner, I talked to him, and like I'd pull him aside, get special meetings, and like, you do understand you are a very talented player, but the way you're thinking is killing you. And from what I understand, he still has bursts of anger when he plays, but like way better
Yeah.
player and thought process now than he was back then.
Yeah.
But you have to get someone to buy into it.
Yeah, I used to be the angry golfer too.
Hard to believe that.
That one's. I know it's hard to believe. You don't see me get angry unless something's usually going on.
I've only
where
seen you
you've
lose
seen
it a
me-
couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I used to get angry a lot, and I remember it was hard to practice not getting angry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting because it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
It was every time he got angry, trying to turn it back to positive somehow was very difficult.
Yeah.
But once you learned how to do it, it was extremely helpful on the golf course. It was extremely helpful in tournament play.
Yep.
It was very helpful everywhere,
In
even
motor-
just in life too.
Yeah. Oh, in fine motor skill sports. So that's that's one of the compliments I actually gotten, and I guess without going overly personal, but like when my life was going sideways, maybe 3-4 years ago, I was in the midst of a divorce, and one of my all-time best friends, Brian, came in, and he said, "Hey, let's grab lunch." So I went out with my two of my best friends, Brian and Robbie, and I proceeded to tell them what was going on in my life, and they both sat across the table looking at me like, "Wait a second, like what's going on?" And like, you're just like steel. Like, you can never tell what kind of day I'm having by talking to me. And I always consider that maybe a negative, but the more I read about it, it's probably, if you can maintain the exterior positive and project that, it helps how you think mentally. So the evidence is clear and undeniable. When the feelings aren't there, act as if they are there, right? And if you can do that, that's going to help you. And it's not always going to work. Like, I'm sitting here, rainbows and sunshine and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know it. I know it. Like, there's certain times when things just, one thing's hitting you after another. But again, the physiology of it is, if you can act like the as-if mentality, and Dr. James Lohr said he actually spent weeks with professional or Olympic athletes, right? Weeks spending with them. So throwing back your shoulders and working on how they walk, like how they walk, how they project themselves. Because when you do that, you're actually manufacturing confidence. So, do you ever work on how you walk?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that, not only I always feel confident, but I'm projecting confidence. And I will say this, like how you said it doesn't always work. That tends to stray people away from it.
Yeah.
And what I like to think when you say something like that is, when I played for you guys at Rutgers, me and Corey. Oh, we tend to flip-flop a little bit between
Corey just got
one and
married,
two.
by the way.
I know. I saw
Congratulations,
Corey. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But the one year I beat him for the number one spot by one stroke at the end of the season. The last practice we had, I beat him by one stroke, and that one stroke got me to the number one spot. And, when you say, well, it doesn't always work, you're right, it doesn't always work. But what if doing that saved him one shot throughout the entire season?
Right.
He still has his number one spot.
Yep.
It's, when you think of it that way,
Yep.
it's, it's something that you can't you can't really put a number to sometimes. You can't
I agree.
you can't fully see the effects of it, but they're there,
That's
even if they're minimal.
that gets back to what we're talking about golf and guitar and what. They're fine motor skill sports.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 cuts to get where you need to be.
Yeah.
You're right. So if you look online right now at the number 1 player in the world versus the number 50 player in the world,
Yeah.
it's less than a stroke difference.
Yeah.
So if you can get your mental game to where it's just a little bit sharper, right? Or K's in or K's on.
I was right about to say,
Yeah,
it's like get that 1% better.
if you can get 1/4 of 1% better every time you do something, you get to the 10,000th rep, and guess what? You're great.
Yeah.
But that takes a certain way of thinking.
Yeah.
So, the fake it till you make it. I see Mary motioning in the background. Yes, Mary.
I'm going to totally date myself, but
Okay.
anyway,
26.
if you've ever watched the movie Little Giants, it's
Mhm.
Rick Moranis
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a
yeah.
bunch of little kids who kind of, don't quite fit into the sports world, but they're doing that best effort to get there and be winners and
They
and
gained a
feel good
yard.
about themselves. The one line that pops out to me happens to be the heavier kid, and he's like, football is 80% mental and 40% physical. And you're
You
like,
fit right in
wait,
there.
what? But it really is true. Like, that mental game is
Mhm.
really the hardest part of the game.
Yeah.
And really, it pushes you over that plateau or
I
over
agree.
that cliff or
Yeah.
that obstacle that you need to get past.
That's the performance psychology. See,
Yeah.
we've been trying to get Mary to actually be on camera, but the woman fights it like the Dickens. Once she gets on the camera, though, she's going to break the internet.
We're going to get there one day.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Quote me on that.
Absolutely. If we've got to drag her. Okay. So we'll go with a little, we'll go little final thoughts here and wrap things up a little bit. You cannot always control how you feel, but you can control your physical presence, and often that gets the job done. So again, another thing out of Laura's book. Yeah. So think about that. You can't always control how you feel, because we're working on a bunch of things like the power force and the whole 9 yards, and like I'm on this like kick-ass roll. The thing's going really, really well, and then I get torpedoed. Like I had 2 or 3 things that happened. I'm like, ugh. And then you find yourself in that mental void, vulnerability spot, and then you start doubting things and questioning things. And you got to pick yourself right back up and just throw the shoulders back and say, you know what? Hey, what? I am the man.
Yeah.
Let's go. And that is, it's undeniable. So remember that it's hard to develop and maintain a physical presence of a champion, but that's your ultimate goal in your life, your golf game, guitar, whatever it is you master,
Yeah.
right? Is you want to have that physical presence that when people see it, they see it. That's a champion. So, like, I think that's an admirable goal for all of us, right?
Yeah, no, I think so. And, I think the best way to get there, again, is change your mental state. Try and make sure that you're there mentally, you're thinking the right way, you're, doing the right things to, make sure you play the best golf, even if your golf game isn't
Yeah.
there. Or,
And if that doesn't work, fake it.
it.
That's the whole
Yes.
from
Yeah. Yeah.
stand up straight.
Exactly.
Well, when we're doing lessons, I do this one all the time. So we typically say at the end of a group presentation, the 2 most important words in golf are
Oh, perfect balance.
perfect balance, right?
Sorry.
So that's okay. So we get the people into the finished position, and I tell people that studies show, and I believe it was Pell's, that people that hold their finish for 2 to 3 seconds learn more efficiently. They learn better.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the wise ass kid who said, well, what happens if I hit a crappy shot, coach? Well, yeah, why do you study history?
So it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, you learn from it, right? So when you do that, that's good. It's a way to learn. However, I tell people the ancillary benefit is when you're standing after you're done and you're holding your finish, even if you hit a crappy shot and someone turns around and just sees you, you look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Again, going back to my incredible lesson yesterday, every good shot she hit was here, and every bad shot she hit was where? Here.
Mhm.
She looked like a tour pro every time.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Good. That's
Yeah.
yes. So we're expecting,
Look like a tour pro every
As-
time.
as
Gotta
we-
love it.
no doubt, but as if Wildman is now one of the flock, right? So we're going to say that to everybody, if you get anything out of this podcast, right,
When you're rich and famous,
we get 10%.
we get 10%. Simple as that. It's not
Right.
a big ask.
And again, like you say, if you love the podcast and you win the lottery, 10% is fine. We'll take that. Anyway, again, if you say in the comments section, I love the breakfast ball, you go into a gift card mode. So we'll put you in a hat for a gift card for Starbucks. Also, our new store's out. I know that we just had recently a fairly large order of people ordering breakfast ball stuff. You can order South Jersey Golf School stuff also. And if you like what we're doing, by all means, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers in a year was the goal. We're 18 months at the latest. We're almost halfway there. So please push us over the top. I am your host, Bob Cardia, and to my left,
The dashing Richie Stoltz.
and off camera, tool time star, the wonderful Mary.
I'm going to put a fence in front of
Yes.
me when I come on.
All right, guys, have a great week. Thank you.
Glass of bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. Alcohol. Because no great story ever started with